Using textual evidence in research papers. Dr. Paula Porter. The areas we are going to cover today include what exactly textual evidence is, when to use textual evidence, when we paraphrase, summarize and quote from another source, why we use textual evidence, and of course an acronym to using textual evidence, which is introduce the evidence, cite the evidence and explain or elaborate on why this evidence supports your topic, paragraph or thesis statement. We will also explain how to use the evidence, either a summary, paraphrase or quote, and some cautions about using evidence in your research paper. Contrary to students' belief, we don't assign research papers to torture students. Think of all those papers we as teachers have to read. If there wasn't an educational value to conducting research, it wouldn't be assigned to you. We do, however, use research and writing papers to develop your skills as both a student and a scholar. You start with a research question and then go out to find the sources that can help you answer that research question. When writing your research paper and including evidence, it shows that you have upper-level critical thinking skills like analysis and evaluation. It also shows that you are a credible student scholar when you can conduct research, find information and support your claim or thesis. Like lawyers in a trial, when we write a research paper, we must convince our audience, generally your instructor, on the validity of the answers to your research question through the use of evidence. We also use evidence to persuade our readers in an argument to support our claims. The process of putting together your research paper is analysis, something we also call critical thinking. When we analyze, we are interpreting the evidence we have found in our research to support our claim. This claim in most research papers is called thesis, but in an argument paper is called a claim. The thesis is the controlling idea or the main point we want to get across in our paper. This thesis will require evidence to support and develop it. Without this support or evidence, we are merely expressing an opinion or, in a worst-case scenario, inaccurate assumptions. We use outside evidence to support our own assertions. We can't just say, teenagers are the worst drivers. We must show it through some type of statistics or other data that has been gathered to demonstrate this. We can also use other sources to help us analyze our problem or research question, or to provide facts and data. Finally, especially if we are writing an argument, we are going to want at least one document that can show an opposing viewpoint. When we read another research paper or text, we have to ask ourselves, what is the central idea this author is supporting in his or her work? Does it support my own thoughts and research question? Does it offer proof through research, or is it an opinion piece? Can I put this in my own words to show my understanding of what I have read? There are a variety of sources we can use when we conduct research, including academic research, which is the most preferred by instructors. An academic source is generally one that has a list of references and comes from a peer-reviewed journal. Authors are experts on the topic, and their goal in writing the article is to inform and update. We can also use general magazines and newspapers, though these are considered less credible. These type of magazines and newspapers are written by journalists, who are seldom experts in their fields. We can also find credible sources online, preferably Edu, Gov or MilSite. In addition, we can conduct interviews with individuals who may be able to provide us with credible information and not just their opinions. Remember, if you are going to do an interview, the person should be considered a subject matter expert only. Our research papers must incorporate evidence to back up what we are writing. Too often students will make a bold statement like, teenage drivers kill more people than war, without showing the reader how this information came about. Remember, in research papers, your opinion doesn't count, only what you can prove to support your opinion. We incorporate the evidence into the paper to show our full understanding of the topic. To put the evidence in our paper, we need to integrate it seamlessly into our writing by either supporting our claim or commenting on how the evidence we have found supports our claim. We want to begin by introducing the concept we are using in our research. Introducing the source is important for your readers to show that you are a credible researcher because you have provided a legitimate and reliable source, such as academic research. To introduce our source, we usually use a signal phrase as shown in the next slide. Then we cite where we got the information, even if we are using our own words, The information and ideas come from another source, and it is imperative that we cite it. This gives credit to the original author or organization. A good rule of thumb is, if in doubt, cite it. Then explain your source and why it is relevant to your argument or research. What does it mean in regards to your topic? How does it relate or support your thesis statement? In other words, answer the question, why is this important, and what does it have to do with my main point? We use signal phrases to introduce our citations. Never just put in a quote without first introducing it and then explaining it. In my classes, I called this an Oreo paragraph. The quote is the fluffy middle, but we introduce it first and then wrap it up with an explanation as to the relevance of the quote or to introduce a transition to another topic. Rule of thumb, when in doubt, cite it. The other rule of thumb is to cite as you write. The only information we don't cite is what is considered common knowledge. George Washington was the first president, the capital of Iowa is Des Moines, the first man on the moon was Neil Armstrong, etc. However, you may have knowledge that is common to you through your personal experiences. For example, I often tell the story of an intelligent young woman in my composition class who had a young son born with a birth defect. This boy had been through multiple surgeries and the mother understood them as well as any medical student. However, she was not a medical student, nor did she have an MD behind her name, so she could not be considered a subject matter expert. She was required to find research to support her experiences and write about it that way. If the assignment had been a narrative paper about a personal experience, her paper would have been fine, but it was unacceptable as a research paper. To summarize a document, make sure you can find and restate the thesis statement. Find the important points of support as well. This gives you the basis for writing your summary. The first sentence should include the writer and the main idea or thesis of the article. Then take the 3 supporting points and address how they support the thesis. Then put in a final statement about the author's conclusion. When we paraphrase, you should thoroughly read and understand the paragraph. Find the topic sentence, the most important part of the paragraph, and the key points made in the paragraph. Write one sentence explaining the topic sentence and the points of support. Always introduce the quotation in your own words, but never write an interpretation. If you interpret it, then it would be a paraphrase, not a quote. Make sure you are using the proper punctuation and you have spelled all the information correctly in the quote. Don't forget a citation. Here's a brief list of when to use a summary, a paraphrase or a quotation. However, make sure that you do not load your paper with nothing but outside research. It is important to remember to have your own thoughts and opinions expressed in third person only, no first person. The evidence is to support your opinions, not provide the entire paper content. As you revise your paper, it is important to ask yourself these questions to see if you have met the criteria of using textual evidence in your paper. We have to be very careful when we use others' words and ideas that they are always given credit. As mentioned before, if in doubt, cite it. It also helps to avoid plagiarism if you cite as you write. Finally, you may want to use a plagiarism checker like Turnitin to avoid plagiarism. In many courses, you can check your paper in Turnitin and fix any accidental errors that could be considered plagiarism. A few reminders about the importance of using evidence properly in our research papers. Remember, if you have any questions, your instructor or the librarian or the Writing Center staff is here to help you.